talking about file handling in C programming. This is going to be a last topic that we are going to cover in this series of our C programming. So when we are talking about file handling C, whenever we run a program, all the data, that is values that we are adding, is sorted on volatile memory, RAM. So what happens in case of RAM is the memory is not stored permanently. It is not stored for future, but it is there for a moment of time. So supposingly I say copy paste. So when you copy the memory on clipboard, it is there for a certain period of time. But when you copy anything else, it is lost forever. So we can call it a volatile memory that is not stored for future. But when we want to store a memory permanently, or the data that we use permanently, we use file handling in C. Now when I'm talking about file, okay, so our files are of two types. So when I'm talking about it, first is text file and second remains a binary files. Okay, so in text file the extension is .txt or .c. So supposingly the name of my file is abc, so I'll save it as abc.txt or abc.c. In case of my binary file, we store it as abc.bin. So bin is the extension. Okay. The next point is that data stored in text file is as it is. So if I say I have my data A and I need to store it in my file, so in my file also the data is remained as A. Now if I say that I have my data A and I need to store it into my binary file, it gets converted to either 0 or 1. So the data stored in binary file is in form of zeros or 1, but the data that is stored in our text file remains as it is without any conversion. Moving further, we can say that the text files are easier to read and write because the data is text that we use in our normal life. It is basically the English that we are using, right? When I'm talking about binary file, it is difficult to read. Why? Because it is zeros and 1. If I give you an example, if I give you a file and I say 0011101001, you won't be able to understand. You won't be able to read or understand it. So yeah, the data is comparatively easier in text file but difficult to understand in your binary file. Moving further, when we have our text file, anyone can read the text file, okay? Anyone. And this raises a concern. That's why it is not much secure. But further, when I am going on with my binary file, no one can read the file and only the programmer can read the binary file. Therefore, it is more secure. So, text file is less secure and binary file is more secure. But text file anyone can read and binary file no one except the programmer can read. Moving further, text file takes a larger space and binary file takes lesser place because binary file is speaking the language of computer. Therefore, it is going to take the less space. But text file, it is large. Computer needs to store the memory of each character. Okay. So, let's just revise it. Extension is txt.c. Extension is bin. Data is stored in text without conversion. Data is stored in binary form, zeros and 1. It is easier to read and write. It is difficult to read and write. Anyone can read the file. No one can read the file except the programmer. It is less secure. It is more secure. It takes larger space and it takes lesser space. Okay, you can take a screenshot of this. So if in exam you ask the theoretical question of what is the difference between your text file and your binary file, you can say it. Now, when we are talking about the operations in file, the operations are open or write a file name. Second is write the data to the file, reading the data to the file and closing the file. So generally when children or me as a student, when we are writing the code, we open the file, then we write the data or we read the data, whatever is to be done according to the concept or according to the question. But we usually forget to close the file, and it is one of the most important concept. It is one of the compulsory thing. Okay, otherwise we are going to get an error. Why are we gonna get an error? Because it is compulsory to close the file that you have opened, or you will encounter an error. So it is a good practice when someone is writing a code. They say when you're writing a code on computer, firstly do the open part, then do the close part as well, and then write the code, okay, by space and leaving the gaps and all that thing. But when you are writing it on paper for an exam, okay, at that point you specifically need to remember that you close the file that you opened, because children most of the time miss it and it will cause an error. Okay, star FP. See, now the keyword that is used in file, okay, file star FPR. Using this operator we perform all the operations. This star, or what do we call it? We call it the pointer. Using this operator we perform all the functions in a file. So fopen, this instructions tell you to open. You say the file name and you see the mode. Now modes are read, write, append, read and write, and okay, so I'll just tell you. So supposingly I need to read a file. It is a already existing file, and I'll tell you about the modes. So I can write it as fopen my file name abc, it is a text file.txt, comma, write. Okay, sorry, read. So we literally do this, and never forget your terminator. It is the most important thing. Now when I'm talking about the modes, okay, there are modes in file. Okay, now there is a note. fopen has two operations. That means it has the operation of opening an existing file, and otherwise it creates a new file. So if there is an existing file, it opens it, and if there is no existing file, it creates one. Okay, now when I'm talking about by modes, as I told you, write, read, append. Write, it erases all the previous data. So supposingly there is a file and there was something written in it. Now I open it. Okay, fopen, I'm telling you. Okay, so I open it, and I open it in my write mode. So all this data gets erased and a new file is opened with nothing in it. Now I need to write something in it. Read mode, there is a pre-existing file. I read it and the data remains as it is, and I am able to see what is present there. Then comes the append mode. In append mode, our data is not erased. Instead, new lines are added to it. So we get new lines added to it from the last line onwards. Okay, now write binary, read binary, append binary. Okay, they are all the same functions: writing, reading and appending, just in binary mode. So supposingly I'm opening a file in my binary mode, I'll say fopen abc.bin, comma, write binary. Yeah, this is how we do it. Now comes your W plus R plus A plus. W plus is write and read from the text file. So there is a text file, empty text file. We first write it and then we read it. Okay, read and write. We first read in the file and then we write it into the file. Okay. Append plus, we first append in the last line the things that we are supposed to add and then we read it. Okay, now comes your write binary plus, read binary plus, and your append binary plus. Same functions, just in your binary files. So modes are are just the same things. We just add a B in the end. So they can ask you questions, they can ask you question in exam, give us a difference between write, read and append, and write plus, R plus and append plus. So what are the differences? Okay, now writing the data to the file. So we say sprintf fpr %d, comma, num. Okay, this is the syntax. This is the name of your file. This is %d that we use to add to add the value into something, and num, it must be the variable, right? Yeah. So this is the syntax. I'll just erase it. You can take a screenshot of these syntax. They are very useful when you're giving your exam. You can literally just read from it. Then comes reading from any file. So when you are supposed to read from any file, you say scanf. Of course, we use scanf to read. Name of the file, %d, and num. Okay, thank you. And f, close, fpr, name of the file. This is how you close. Close is the most important process. Otherwise, error will occur, as we said. Okay. Now note, there is a note. When you open in write mode, then close. Okay. When you open in read mode, then open in read mode, then close. Okay. So they are saying when you open in write mode, then you close and then open. So if you are opening in write plus mode, okay, something like that. Sorry. Yeah. So when you're opening in a write mode, then you're supposed to close. When you're opening in read mode, then you're supposed to close. Close is important. Then say note, always create a folder where file is to be created. Yeah, it is not something compulsory, but it is something that can help you manage your files well. There is a folder where a file is created, so it is useful. Then it says exit 0 if the program is executed correctly, exit 1, 2, 3 for any other number if the program is terminated abruptly, right? Now let us take an example to create or write a program to create a file and write the data in a file only. You can check out it in the online C compiler. It is a good practice to write it whatever you are learning. Okay, so we say hash include studio.h and hash include studlib.h. This one includes the scanf and printf function and printf function, and this one includes the for exit function, the exit function of course. Then we start with int main, in which all our data is going to be written. We say file fpr, we name the file, we name whatever the file is. Then we say int num. Okay, then we say fpr is equals to fopen. This is the opening statement. We are opening a file. Here we are naming them, making our device know, oh, this is the things that are going to be there. Then we say cf data file data.txt. When you're using in computer, you can just copy the path and then add txt, or you can name the file and then add txt. They have just written it in that format. Okay, w. So we are writing something, and we were said to create a file and write data in a file only. So we are just about to create the file. We've created it, and now we are supposed to write. So they say if fpr is equals to null. So if our fpr is empty, if our fpr is null, printf file not created. Okay, the file is not created. Then we say exit 1. Why 1? Terminated abruptly. There is some error, so we exit 1. Okay, otherwise they say printf. Okay, the loop is closed and we say printf file opened / created. Then we say printf enter number, and we say scanf %d and num, the values are taken. As printf fpr %d num, the values will be printed. Okay, sorry, the values will be written. Okay, now we say as printf data written to the file. Now the data is written, and then the most important part, that is closing your file. We close the file and then we say return 0. So yeah, this is one of the most basic code that we can say. This was all about your file handling and programming in C, and this is mostly all of the things that we have covered in this playlist in C programming. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.